7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Queen Elizabeth II passed away yesterday at the age of 96. Let's talk about the legacy she left behind and what is next for the UK. Trump continues to sow discord, and MAGA Republicans are in full meltdown mode still. Steve Bannon, the former chief strategist for Donald Trump, has turned himself in for his crowdfunding scheme for We Build the Walls Incorporated. Conservatives are in complete meltdown mode once again this time over Biden's pick for the White House's National Monkeypox Response Deputy Coordinator. What's the big deal? And what's new in Michigan politics today? All of this on this week's episode of Current Events on Tap. And good evening, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Current Events on Tap with your host, Alex Kirsch, a podcast from the Alex Kirsch Project. Hey, that's me, Army retiree, truck driver, pragmatic progressive, political commentator, and guess what? I'm a part-time cloud chaser sometimes. If this is your first time listening, please do me a solid and hit like and share and subscribe to my Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. This podcast gives you this week's current events, and I also do what I call the beer of the week. I pick one beer and I review it based on price, pour, aroma, taste, and then I give it an overall rating. Be sure to catch me every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Spreaker, and catch me at your earliest convenience on the other platforms that I mentioned before, YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Just type in the Alex Kirsch Project or Current Events on Tap, and you will find this podcast. And now, without further ado, it is time for the Beer of the Week. This week's Beer of the Week actually hails from the country of Ireland. The history in this beer, of course, is one of a favorite of mine when it comes down to dark beers. Guinness Draught. That's right. Guinness Draught. A very, very, very lovely dark beer. Now, first, let's go into the history of this delicious beer. The history is the brewery that creates this delicious beer, Guinness, was founded by Arthur Guinness in 1759, when at the age of 34, bought the lease for the St. James Gate Brewery in Dublin, Ireland. The brewery front at that point when he bought it, was leased for 9,000 years. That's correct. You heard it correctly. 9,000 years at an annual rent of £45 per year. The brewery, it was only founded on 4 acres of property in size in total. But in 1769, it became so successful, it began exporting its beer all throughout England. It began brewing porter at a new type, which is a new type of English beer at the time, which was originally discovered in 1722 by another brewer by the name of Ralph Harwood. For those not aware, porter is a brewing method using barley, roasted barley, might I add, and it gives it that darkish, ruby color and that rich aroma. So essentially, that's when the whole draft and when Guinness first came to be, essentially. It has an alcohol percentage of 4.2%. Now, I want to say that I've been very, very remiss into this, okay? When it comes down to rating it, I've only been giving it like 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, but I didn't really clarify, which one's better and which one's worse. So I'm going to add a little bit to it, okay? So now whenever I give it a rating, I give a rating of 1 to 5 mugs, 1 being lowest, 5 being highest, okay? So if I give it a rating of like 4 out of 5 mugs, it's probably pretty good. 1 being lowest, 5 being highest, essentially, once again. All right, so anyway, let's go ahead and start the rating scheme for Guinness. So price, 4 mugs out of 5. This can be bought anywhere between $10 to $15 depending on the liquor store or grocery store that you buy this in. I bought this at the local liquor store located in Carroll, Michigan, but you can buy this at any grocery store or liquor store across the country. It is a great price for a good quality beer. The pour, it gets a solid 100% solid 5 mugs out of 5. Tonight, however, I decided to pour this mug of Guinness from the Physics Draft Pour Beer Tap. Now, for those not aware, I saw this product on Shark Tank, and I bought it on Amazon for $124.99. Now, that's not including the shipping and the handling. The Physics uses sound waves and fluid dynamics to give you that real, authentic pour that you can get at a typical bar or restaurant. It works with any beer, or hell, even if soda. If you want to put, draft soda, it works with soda as well. All you got to do is make sure that after each and every use, I'm talking about like if you have like one beer after the other, you don't need to worry about cleaning it. But once you get done with it, you have to run some hot water through it to clean it out. Don't use dish soap with what I can tell you that much, okay? Now, what's so cool about this thing is like it's science that I cannot understand, but it uses sound waves and fluid dynamics to give you that pour. It is fantastic. It's amazing. And what's so cool about it is you can actually take it anywhere with you. You can either plug it in. It uses just a regular USB, and then you plug it into a wall, or you can even use batteries to power it. Now, I usually use it when it's plugged in, okay? Anyway, if you don't use the physics, you still get this absolutely perfect pour in just right with the right amount of foamy head. It still is so good. However, with the physics, you really kind of get that draft. There's actually a very significant difference in taste between the two. I mean, I can't explain it. I don't know how you can tell the difference like in taste when it comes down to how it gets poured out. But there's a significant difference between pouring it out of a can or at a bottle out of the physics. It just, for some reason, it just tastes so much better. I prefer beer on draft than from a bottle. However, I will definitely say the physics is a great piece of machinery. Once again, it's $124 that you can buy on Amazon, not including shipping and handling. And if you don't believe me, go on YouTube, type in physics, and you will see other people give reviews about this. It is an amazing piece of technology. But even with or without the physics, the pour still gets an amazing 5 out of 5 because you still, if you pour it correctly, you just get the right amount of consistency with the beer and the head. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Aroma, another 5 out of 5 mugs. You smell the sweetness. Similar to like the fruits of cherries, and sometimes some people even think raisins actually. The roasted malt gives it that cocoa and coffee-like smell. And you just take that whiff. Oh God, it just smells so good. To me, it smells so heavenly, honestly. I used to not be big about the dark beers, but I tell you, every time I just take a whiff, it just smells so good. I love taking whiffs of the beers before I drink them. And I tell you, Guinness always has a beautiful smell to it. So easy, 5 out of 5 mugs. The taste, another 5 out of 5 mugs, too easily. You get the creaminess from the get-go once you take that first hit. The sweetness and the bitterness actually complements one another. I do enjoy sweet-tasting alcoholic beverages, like mead. But there are some ones that are bitter, like some pale ales that have that real hoppy taste to it, that real bitter taste to it. I like the taste of those sometimes too. But I tell you what though, when it comes down to the Guinness, it's the sweetness and the bitterness. It balances itself out and it tastes so good. And the balance is what makes Guinness Draught that offers it. That is truly, truly exceptional. Fantastic. 5 out of 5 mugs easily. Overall, yes, I might have given it a 4 out of 5 mugs before, but you know what? Damn it, this is my show. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5 mugs. I used to not be much of a dark beer drinker, and I know I did Hofbrau Dunkel earlier last week, but this exceeds Dunkel by far. Guinness is what truly started me on the path of appreciating dark beers. It is truly a taste bud, an offer of taste for the taste buds. Truly magnificent, and I love this beer. I can drink it all the time. I love it. Whether I'm having a good day, bad day, if I just want to kick back and relax on a hot summer day, or even the cold, bitter winters that Michigan offers, I would love to drink this kind of beer. It's a beer that I can drink all the time. It's one that I cannot get tired of. Definitely, overall, 5 out of 5 mugs. Thank you so much, Ireland, and thank you so much, Mr. Guinness, for giving us this absolute treasure of dark beer. Now, on to current events. So many are saddened by the death of Britain's longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. Now, before we go into detail about what's next for them, let's go over a little bit of history about Queen Elizabeth II. She was born on the 21st of April, 1926. Her father, King George VI, assumed the role as king in 1936 due to a scandal involving his brother Edward VIII and his proposal to an American divorcee, Wallis Simpson. By her father becoming king, she became direct heir to the crown. She became queen in 1952 after her father died in his sleep. At the time, she was 25 years old, and she was living in Kenya at the time when he passed away. As queen, she made more than 270 trips abroad during her time as Queen of Britain. She was the head of the Commonwealth of Nations, which is a political association of 56 member states that is made up of mostly British territories, to include the Bahamas, New Zealand, and, yes, even Canada, our neighbors to the north. Her husband, Prince Philip, who passed away at the age of 99 last April, they were married for 73 years. 73 years. Just think about that. That's longer than how some people live. I mean, I know that seems like, well, yeah, I mean, that you could say that case about it, but the thing is, 73 years being married to the same person, that is just nothing short of amazing. I mean, and from what I understand, they still had great affection for one another. And even though he passed away just last year, it's just one thing you can take comfort in knowing is that they are now reunited. They are now back together again. But they both lived very, very long lives. He lived to the age of 99 and she lived to the age of 96. That's a good long year, a good many years of living. One of the biggest commitments that she made, that she was quoted, is that she was going to be devoted her whole to the service of Britain's great imperial family. Now, she was very big about, contributing into, philanthropy and whatnot, and taking part in noble causes. She served in the military around the time of World War II. She was a very prominent person, very intelligent, very worldly. She's met more presidents aside from Lyndon LBJ. I didn't know that she never met LBJ, but she's pretty much met more presidents than most other people, than most other royal members have. Let alone the fact that she'd seen so much. Just think about like how long that she had been alive, what she had seen in her day. The transformation of what Britain once was into what the way Britain is now, actually. And it's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you cannot help but just know that people absolutely loved her. The people of Britain absolutely loved the royal family. They loved Queen Elizabeth. They thought she was a fantastic person. She used to make addresses almost every Christmas. But, like most other people, she is just human. I'm sure she had her flaws, but we're not going to hold that against her, really. Simply because I wouldn't consider her necessarily a bad person. I just simply say that there are some things that I kind of have a little bit of a problem with. Well, before I get into that, though, so what's next for the country of Britain, for the UK? Well, King Charles, her son, is now going to be known as King Charles III. His coronation ceremony is going to be tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and I believe that is British time, on the 10th of September in the State Apartments of St. James Palace, London, according to the Royal UK website. So let's just say I'm not exactly a big fan of King Charles because of how he was still engaged in an affair while he was married to Princess Diana with his now queen consort, Camilla Parker Bowles. Now, I want everybody to remember something, okay? I'm not simply blaming him. I'm not simply blaming her. However, if I'm not mistaken, I seem to recall a time like how Harry and William felt about Camilla Parker Bowles, and they resent her because she is the woman that basically split Charles and Diana up. Now, I do like Princess Diana from what I remember reading about her. A wonderful woman, truly a philanthropist, a woman that really cared about the issues that affected others in humanity, whatnot. And I just truly feel like it devastated her, honestly. Now, when it comes down to the Queen, I do respect the Queen and her reign. I felt like that she's contributed a lot, and she, in some ways, made the UK a great place. But I have a lot of criticism about her as well. One of my biggest criticisms about her is how she handled the ordeal with Prince Andrew and his relations with Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, I'm talking about the Jeffrey Epstein thing because this is something that still bothers the hell out of me, honestly. Yes, Prince Andrew had his titles and everything revoked from him. That means absolutely little to nothing, I'm sure, for the victims that suffered under him. He shouldn't just be stripped of titles. He needs to be made a pure example of. Because, honestly, he is still, I wouldn't say a danger, but it's just like, how is a person that suffered under him supposed to react to something like this? Especially when he denied ever knowing some of these people. These people that were exploited by Jeffrey Epstein, and he had very close ties to Jeffrey Epstein, it sends a message whenever all he does is have his title stripped, essentially. I felt it could have been handled a lot better. And rumor has it, this is apparently why Harry left the royal family, because he did not want to be associated with it. And if that's the case, then yes, that's the right move, honestly. Because I wouldn't want to be associated with Prince Andrew either, actually. Now, it may not be proven. But another thing that I found out is apparently when Diana and Charles initially got married. There's a lot of tension between her and the Queen. According to biographer Andrew Morton, Diana was initially terrified of the Queen. Diana suffered from depression, and it cascaded even further when she learned that Charles kept his affair with his now wife, Camilla Parker Bowles, who once again is now known as the Queen Consort. It was, however, disclosed that during the separation in 1992 between Diana and Charles, Diana had apparently told Morton that she did get along with her former in-laws, but is quoted as saying, "I wouldn't go out of my way to have tea with them." Now, I'm sure that could probably be like some tension that could be understood, but I guess some could be speculated about the relationship, but we may never know for sure. But at the end of the day, we need to remember something. There are some good things that the Queen did, and there's just so much in there, but look it up in regards to that, of like the great things that she did do while she was the Queen. She's flawed like everybody else. I don't particularly think that she's an evil person. I would never make that assumption. I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists that think that she had anything to do with the death of Diana, which there are people out there that say these things. I'm never going to say those things. I don't know, and I'm not going to speculate on such things. However, the Queen was a human being, flawed like everybody else. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, I don't care about her passing. She is the longest lasting monarch for Britain. She was loved by so many. She always seemed to show genuine care to those that she surrounded herself with. She was loved by many. She will be greatly missed. So tonight, I will be dedicating this drink to Queen Elizabeth II. May she rest in peace. So once again, Trump continues to sow discord and MAGA Republicans, and Trump's judged to appoint a special master. Trump gave a speech in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania on the 3rd of September to support Doug Mastriano for governor and Dr. Oz for Senate. Now, both of these clowns are diehard Trump loyalists. Now, these guys seem to need the endorsement to have any real credibility this day and age. However, during Trump's speech, he continued to sow more discord and tell more lies like he usually does. First, by making people wait an hour and a half. Let me say that again, an hour and a half before he actually spoke to the crowd of zealots while waving to them as Lee Greenwood's song, "Proud to Be an American," played in the background. Now, I started listening to this speech. I was like kind of skipping through because I saw it was like 3.5 hours long, the video itself. But I had to skip a whole hour and a half before he finally came out on stage. Now, first off, I've been to some concerts, and I get that sometimes the band isn't going to make an appearance, but waiting a whole damn hour and a half for one person to talk is absurd to me, honestly. I'm sure other presidents do that, but honestly, I don't care what president does it. I think it's completely absurd across the board. Anyway, Trump then, once he started his usual rants, he was then once again crying about how the whole world is against him and how they're not really after him, but after the American people, which is a crock of shit, honestly. Nobody's after you or your supporters because of their zealotry. It's because Trump is being investigated for stealing classified materials from the White House. At least he's accused of doing so. But Trump won't believe it. He won't admit to it. He did, however, take the time to comment on Biden's most recent speech, and he called it the most vicious, hateful, and divisive speech ever delivered by an American president, which is absolutely laughable coming from him. I mean, he went on to say that Biden was the enemy of the state, insisting that MAGA Republicans are the ones trying to save democracy. He said that Biden has declared war on half of America, which is also a crock of shit. Biden was very, very specific in his speech, saying that he was only talking about those MAGA Republicans who are actually who are not actually putting any actual legislation forward, and they're very fearful about the way of forward progress for this country. All they do is they focus on appeasing their God Emperor, Donald Trump. That's all they really care about in this regard. He wasn't talking about all Republicans. Don't let the right-wing media tell you that he is targeting all Republicans, because he is not. Tucker Carlson said it, and he's lying, because that's what Tucker Carlson does, is he lies. He wasn't targeting 75 million Republicans. That's a crock of shit. We need to remember something, okay? A lot of Republicans that voted for Trump weren't doing it because they liked Trump. It's just because they were voting along party lines. Some of them were probably voting because they don't like Biden. I get it, all right? If you don't like Biden, that's entirely your right. You can hate the guy all you want to. I've got no control over that. But I refuse to believe every Republican out there is a MAGA Republican. There is a difference, because MAGA Republicans, like I said in my last show, are the ones that have sown this discord and said, if you're a Republican, if you don't vote for Trump or you don't back Trump, then you're a traitor and you're not a real Republican. You are a Republican in name only. This is what they have continued to say. It's not Biden just saying this. Biden just validated this, and the MAGA Republicans lost their ever-loving minds. They absolutely believed 100% that they are being targeted, that they are all being targeted. And now you got people out there saying that they are being targeted just because that they are MAGA Republicans. But it gets worse. Trump is continuing to insult the Department of Justice by saying, it was not just my home that was raided. It was the hopes and dreams of every citizen I have been fighting for since the moment I came down the escalator in 2015, wanting to represent the people. Once again, how misguided can you possibly be? The fact that he is really trying to make it seem like it's about the people. No, I'm sorry, but the people that voted for you did not steal the documents out of the damn White House. You did. At least that's what you're accused of doing. The FBI, each day that they can, is releasing what has been taken. As a matter of fact, some of the documents, as we found out this week, were nuclear secrets that belong to another country. Now, nobody knows what country we're talking about. There's speculation that it possibly could have been Israel or one of the other many countries that we are allied with, but we don't know who belongs to, because sometimes that's information that we are not privy to know about. But the fact of the matter is this is what Donald Trump is doing. He is trying to make it seem like it's about you, the American people, when it's not. He is the one that did this. He is the one that had his staff grab those documents and take them to Mar-a-Lago. You, the people that voted for him, have got nothing to do with it. But he is trying to make it be about you. But guess what? It still worked. There are people that are dumb enough to believe that they are targeting you, but they're not targeting you. It gets worse. MAGA Republicans have continued to take the same approach by following their God Emperor's lead in regards to Biden's speeches, the Department of Justice, and the FBI. Consistent calls to defund the FBI have still been going off on social media from Trump loyalists such as Tim Young, a so-called comedian, and maybe a columnist, I guess, for the Washington Times. I don't know. I've never read his articles. Marjorie Trader Green, yes, from Georgia. A has-been actor, Randy Quaid, and some Aussie named Nick Adams. All of them on social media. Consistently, what they all have in common is the taste of Trump in their mouths, and to spread consistent lies about how they are under attack by the left. And here's what's worse. Comparisons are still being made that Biden's speech and the FBI are Biden's SS Gestapo. You heard that right. MAGA Republicans are even going as far as comparing themselves to Jews during Nazi Germany. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the left has made similar comparisons, which also bothers me, okay? Countries that have similar means of detaining dissenters are places like North Korea with their labor camps, and the Chechens who imprison gay people and put them in detention camps to get rid of their gay tendencies, as I might say. MAGA Republicans are not like the Jews during Nazi Germany. It is disingenuous to say so. You aren't being yanked out of your homes and thrown onto trains and taken to camps to be starved, beaten, tortured, and burned in the furnaces that I've seen at places like Dachau. It is beyond offensive. They're not going to stop there, though. MAGA Republicans will insist they are the victims while projecting that the left is full of snowflakes who are so sensitive about mean tweets. Insult their God Emperor, though, watch them go into full meltdown mode. This is what their modus operandi is. They are all about the rhetoric. They are all about making it seem like we are targeting them. They're going to make it seem like the left is coming after them. No, we are not coming after them. The only way we're coming after some of these people is in the voting booths. That's the only way that we are truly coming after them. That's the best way to get some of these people out of office. And the best way to also counter some of these people is by encountering them on social media, if they will respond to you, if you've got enough clout, which, like I said before, I'm a part-time clout chaser. Now, I may never actually get through to some of these people, but that's not my intent. I'm still going to get my message out there. it gets worse. A Trump-appointed judge was just appointed, that he appointed after he'd already lost the election, was also a member of the Federal Society, which is a heavily conservative and libertarian legal organization. Now, I'm not going to sit there and bash the Federal Society because I don't really know enough about them. However, due to her heavily conservative leanings possibly, and the fact that she was still appointed after Trump had already lost the election in 2020, she then eventually granted Trump's request for a special master to review the case of the Mar-a-Lago raid, which puts the entire DOJ's investigation for the time being on hold. Now, what's interesting about this is usually in cases like this, the judge needs to hear things from both sides of the spectrum, okay, of the case before they actually make a decision. But apparently, she's only heard one side. Guess which side? Take all the time you need. That's right, Trump's side. Now, for all we know, she probably had heard enough to make a decision. But it does kind of make you wonder, what is she hoping to gain by showing support for Trump? I mean, she's already tried to make herself like a candidate for the Supreme Court. Is she hoping, banking on the idea that if another conservative Republican gets elected into the White House, and the next time a Supreme Court justice either retires or dies or something like that, that she has an automatic slot because she defended Trump? Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it kind of makes you wonder, why is it that she was so willing to hear and accept Trump's side and not listen to the Department of Justice? Now, the Department of Justice has already reached out to her to appeal to her to make a different decision, but now we are not going to find out until later on if she's going to hear this. Because like I said, the special master case, all this does is it's going to delay the Department of Justice, which is exactly what Trump wants. He wants to delay. It does not bode well if this continues to get delayed any further, because just like anybody else, if anybody else had done the same thing that Donald Trump did, they would be in prison easily. But it's because it's Donald Trump. This guy is getting handled with kid gloves right now. But here's the thing. We have to let this process go through, because if we continue to protest with Judge Eileen Cannon being the person to determine the special master in this case, if we don't allow her to do this, the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, are going to cry foul because they are not getting their freaking way like they always do. So once again, Trump is being handled with kid gloves. Yeah, he's been investigated plenty of times, and people say, oh, the Mueller report determined nothing. The Mueller report also said this does not exonerate Trump in any way. For those that have short-term memory, for people that don't actually take the time to read the full context of what Robert Mueller said. But he is being handled with kid gloves. If this was anybody else, like I said, they would be thrown in prison immediately. Why? Because even Trump said nobody is above the law. Trump was very specific when he ran for office. Nobody is above the law. But now he wants to make himself look like the victim. Once again, we're witnessing a guy who will never take responsibility. And if this goes to show, I said this last week, and I said this when I was on a panel last weekend. If anything, Trump will throw as many people as he can under the bus to preserve himself. Now, I'm just making a prediction once again. What he's probably going to end up doing is he'll cut a deal that will keep him out of prison. I don't think he would ever see the inside of a prison cell anyway, but I do think he'll do whatever he can to avoid any kind of prison time or paying fines or whatnot. However, he'll probably give all these minnows or these little fish for them to take the full blunt of the process, essentially. I mean, hell, it could even be his lawyers. He will throw them under the bus to save himself, and then he'll say, well, listen, I just won't run for office anymore, but I at least want to be able to leave Mar-a-Lago whenever I want to and still endorse candidates. I want to be able to do that in regards to this, okay? But some way, he is still going to find somebody to blame for this, because that's what he does. He is never at fault. He blames other people for what he does, because that's the kind of guy Donald Trump is. Study the guy. Learn about him. This is his modus operandi. Never take responsibility. Blame other people. Never, ever, ever take responsibility, and never, ever apologize, because that's not what he does. That's not the kind of person he is. But this is exactly what I'm expecting from other MAGA Republicans. They want you to feel sorry for them. They want you to feel like they are being targeted. They want you to feel like they are the victims, in fact. They're not the victims, as a matter of fact. They're anything but victims. I'm just telling you, MAGA Republicans, it's not too late to get off the MAGA train. This guy is going to lead you down a very dark path, and he is going to continue to do so. He will throw as many of you under the bus as he possibly can. Why? Because I keep saying it. That's what he does. He will never, ever, ever say, I got your back. Again, if he really had anybody's back, then why didn't he fund the defenses for the guys that raided the Capitol, that stormed the Capitol? Let me put it to you this way. Donald Trump did not bother to set up any defenses for the people that stormed the Capitol. But guess what? He pardoned the guy I'm going to talk about next, Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon turned himself in. Steve Bannon is a Trump loyalist, and he also worked on Trump's campaign, worked on his administration, worked on Breitbart News and whatnot. But he turned himself in a state court because this was what he was pardoned for committing fraud for the GoFundMe We Build the Walls, Inc. Now, Bannon was not the only one that was involved. Disabled veteran and partisan hack, yes, partisan hack, Brian Kolfage, also got hammered and pled guilty for fraud. Now, Steve Bannon was led away in handcuffs just yesterday. This is what he had to say to the press.
For every conservative American, this is what happens in the last days of a dying regime. They will never shut me up. They'll have to kill me first. I have not yet begun to fight.
Oh, desperation be thy name. Steve Bannon is desperate. Because here's the thing. There's no way he can get himself out of this. It is proven already that him and Brian Kolfage said that they were not going to enrich themselves, but they ripped off millions of Americans off the millions of dollars they raised to build the damn wall on the southern border. But guess what these guys did? They enriched themselves with some of that money. Now, GoFundMe is very, very particular about this. If you are, lying about your GoFundMe, they can actually hold you and they can actually prosecute you for that. And they can actually ensure that you cannot do any more fundraising like that. But Steve Bannon and Brian Kolfage played you all. Any one of you idiots that contributed to this campaign and contributed this GoFundMe, you probably got ripped off by Steve Bannon and Brian Kolfage. You got ripped off by these guys. They enriched themselves and bought materials and bought boats. They bought cars. They did whatever the hell they wanted to with that money. And you guys bought it. Lock, stock, and 2 smoking damn barrels. These people ripped you off. They said that they were going to build the wall. And guess what? The wall never got built. Why? It's for reasons we already know about. It's because there are some sections of wall that didn't need to get built, or some sections of walls that can't be built in these regions because of the shape of the land or whatnot, or because you're actually going to disrupt migratory patterns for animals that have to pass through between the United States and Mexico. There are so many reasons as to why the wall did not get built. Like I knew it wasn't going to get built, but no, people don't want to listen to me, right? Because I don't know what I'm talking about. I just don't like Donald Trump. I got Trump derangement syndrome. That's the whole. I knew the wall wasn't going to get built, but these assholes ripped you people off. And the fact that they still took money from the Defense Department, money that was supposed to go to our military, but they used it to build a wall that never got built, that people are still managing to climb over, like I knew was going to happen. I knew the wall was going to be pretty much useless, but no, they still want to build the wall. Why? Because that's what the rhetoric is telling you. That's what the rhetoric is letting you believe. This is what happens, though, when you're not freaking doing your due diligence and checking on these people. But Steve Bannon, let's be honest. Steve Bannon isn't exactly the most credible person, but yet people still contribute to him. People still listen to his podcast for reasons I have no idea. My God, this guy is just absolute batshit crazy. I got it. I don't have hardly any listeners. That's okay. I can accept that. But you know what? I know who I am. But people don't know who Steve Bannon is. He's a nutcase of the highest order. Now, I've always known he's a scummy individual. But this should not be a shock to anyone who knows anything about him. But the thing is, it's the people that still listen to him. Now, I'm sure there are maybe some people that just listen to him because he's a Trumper. But I need y'all to know something. This man is a rabid anti-Semite. This guy has consistently said things like, the Jews are out to get him. But don't take my word for it, okay? These are a couple things that Steve Bannon has said. Just days after being swatted 3 different times by deranged thugs from New York City inspired by the Biden administration to assassinate me by police, the Soros-backed DA has now decided to pursue phony charges against me 60 days before the midterm election because War Room is the major source of the MAGA grassroots movement. That's what Steve Bannon said himself. He thinks that the police are out to assassinate him, and he says that the Soros-backed, meaning George Soros-backed DA, has now decided to pursue phony charges against him. These aren't phony charges. We know that he did this. Now he's going to pay for it. He was pardoned by Trump for these charges, but now he was pardoned of the federal charges. State charges is something totally different. Now, he's also made these ridiculous claims like the deep state is planning to assassinate former President Donald Trump and that the FBI planted evidence against him during the raid on his Mar-a-Lago residence in Florida. But that's not all, okay? He's also quoted as saying this to Alex Jones. Now, we all know how credible Alex Jones is. I mean, for crying out loud, this guy has more conspiracy theories than I can shake a stick at. But this is what he said on Alex Jones' show, InfoWars. I do not think it's beyond this administrative state and their deep state apparatus to actually try to work on the assassination of President Trump. I think everything's on the table. First things first, okay? I don't think so. That's not going to happen. I've been hearing this crap about the deep state against Trump for 6 damn years, okay? You mean to tell me that Donald Trump is smarter than these guys, or the deep state has such deep pockets and is so convoluted and is so sophisticated, but yet they can't seem to bring down one guy? What does that tell you exactly? Please tell me. Please, somebody tell me. If the deep state is so well organized, why can't they take down one person, especially with enough dirt? It's because it doesn't freaking happen. Now, I'm sure that there are probably some people working behind this curtain, working in the shadows. I believe that. But they're not working to take down Donald Trump. For God's sake, get it out of your freaking heads. But Steve Bannon is spreading these conspiracy theories, and people are dumb enough to believe it. Listen, if you want to believe it, fine. That's your business. I'm just going to make fun of you from now on. There is no deep state conspiracy against Donald Trump, okay? It's time for you to wake up. It's time for you to stop acting like a moron and get with the times, okay? Donald Trump is in trouble because of what Donald Trump does. And Steve Bannon is playing into your fears over something that you cannot prove. It's bad enough that Steve Bannon and people like QAnon are spreading these conspiracy theories that take away resources that actually inhibit law enforcement's job. I mean, let's not take into the fact that QAnon said that Wayfair was utilizing children and human trafficked people to make their freaking furniture and whatnot. That turned out to not be true. But just think about it. How much manpower they took away from task forces for them to find out that wasn't true. It wasn't backed up by anything. It was just something that they speculated upon. QAnon, Steve Bannon, these people do this for a living. They play off of your fears. They play off of your emotions. They insert enough bullshit to get you thinking that you're like, oh, this might be true. Steve Bannon would never lie. Steve Bannon makes a career off of lying. Alex Jones has made a career off of lying. These people make a career off of lying. And this lawsuit that he is now being dealt with on, the fact that he ripped off so many people with this Build the Wall Inc., We Will Build the Wall Inc., off of a GoFundMe, should be evident enough for anybody. It's clear. It's plain and clear to me, but it's not plain and clear to many others, which is an absolute shame. What will it take for you to be convinced that Steve Bannon is a fraud? always has been a fraud, always will be a fraud, and damn it, I hope he is held to account for what he did. And you know what? If this causes him to flip on Trump, then by all means, go for it, Bannon. But I think you're too much of a coward. So, the White House, specifically President Biden, has appointed somebody as the National Monkeypox Response Deputy Coordinator. Dr. Dmitry Daskalakis. Oh my goodness, I just screwed up his name. I'm sorry. Daskalakis. My goodness, I'm so sorry. If I butchered his name, I do apologize. But he's been selected by the White House to run the National Monkeypox Response Deputy Coordinator. The conservative base is going after him and attacking him. Now, are they going after him because of his qualifications? Are they going after him because Biden appointed them? No. There are people in the conservative base that are attacking him because he is a member of the LGBTQ plus community. So what do we know about this man? What do we know about this doctor? Well, for starters, he attended Columbia University between 1991 and 1995, where he did get a bachelor's degree in biology. So far, so good. Then went to Harvard Medical School, earned his degree in 2003, and also received his master's in public health from Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. I would say that's pretty significant. These are two accredited and very prestigious schools in the country, especially when it comes down to masters of health and whatnot. Now, to me, it sounds like he's got the credentials. Yet the conservative yahoos, once again, are not attacking him because of his credentials. They are attacking him because of one reason. They are attacking him because he is a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Now, conservatives, once again, like Tim Young and Benny Johnson, are attacking him. Okay? First things first. Benny Johnson stated this on his Twitter. Meet Dmitry Daskalakis. Okay, there we go. Dmitry was just appointed by Joe Biden to be the official White House National Monkeypox Response Duty Coordinator. Dmitry proudly wears the official symbol of the Church of Satan of the pentagram. Joe Biden appointed a Satanist to the White House. How ridiculous is that, okay? So, first things first, even if he was a Satanist, which he isn't, who cares? What does it matter what his religious affiliation is, okay? What? Oh, boogie, 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 ooh, boogeyman kind of deal? We have a Satanist? I don't care if this person's a Satanist. If he or she is qualified to run that position, I don't care. They could be wearing black lipstick, they could be goth, they could be whatever. All I care about is if they have the qualifications and if they could do the damn job, okay? That's all I care about. Now, if this guy it takes his position and he butchers the job completely, then yeah, he should be held to account for that. And yes, he should be blasted for not doing his job properly. But he's not a Satanist. But last time I checked, it's covered under the Constitution of the United States. Congress shall make no law respecting or condemning any one religion last time I checked. So what if he's a Satanist? Has anybody read the 11 Rules of Earth as a Satanist? Pretty good stuff, actually. I'm not going to go over it, but you can type it in. 11 Rules for Earth as a Satanist. It's pretty common sense stuff, actually. So, here's one of the reasons why he was chosen. Now, I want everybody to understand, and I want you to listen to this. Is what he says. Daskalakis said recently that he was chosen for the MPV Response Duty Deputy Coordinator to specifically work on outreach to the LGBTQ plus community, okay? To work on the outreach, okay? My primary responsibility is doing right by the LGBTQIA plus community and to make sure there's a higher level of coordination on all fronts moving in the right direction, he told The Advocate. This was according to the website The Advocate. The main group affected by monkeypox outbreak has been gay, bisexual, and queer men and men who have sex with men. There have been 21,504 cases in the U.S., according to the CDC. Now, from what I understand, monkeypox is horrible to have. And yes, people of the LGBTQ plus community are the ones most affected by this. So it would make sense that somebody that not just works in the health department, but people that are also members of the community. Why? Because optics sometimes is everything. It's hard enough that some people that are members of the LGBTQ plus community that they receive. Some of them are bullied and beaten and told that they don't really exist, or they just have a mental disorder, or that something is wrong with them, which there isn't, of course. Now, to see somebody that is a member of the community being head of this task force actually gives them some hope, all right? Now, I'm not speaking for them. This is just my observation, essentially, because I'm sure there are people out there that are members of the LGBTQ plus community that are going to see this and says, if he can do it, so can I. Not that there should have been any doubt anyway, but this is definitely about optics, but he definitely has the credentials to go with it. Let alone the fact that this affects members of the community. So when I put somebody in charge of the community, because then it gives people some reassurance that they have no shame, that they can come forward and say, I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus community. I have monkeypox. This is beneficial. This is a good thing. This is something that we should be focusing on, because I don't know how fatal monkeypox is. I don't know enough about it. But the fact that there are tens of thousands of people affected by this, then yes, it makes sense to have a coordinator that can relate to the community. It's sort of like, victims of sexual assault. They might feel more comfortable talking to a woman about this, because some women don't feel comfortable talking to a man about this. Or that's why some women that need to go see an OBGYN, sometimes they might be more comfortable seeing a woman OBGYN. It makes sense, honestly. Not to say that men can't be OBGYNs, but it makes sense why some might feel more comfortable. So it might make members of this community feel more comfortable now about coming forward, because there is a member of their community that's there. Somebody that specializes in this. Somebody that actually is qualified to deal with something like this. This is a good thing. It's going to give them hope. Again, if they can see this and say, if he can do it, so can I. So can I. And this is a really important thing that we all need to focus upon. To sum up today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Michigan politics once again. So, first bit in Michigan politics today. Michigan Governor Whitmer and her opponent, Tudor Dixon, are going to debate in mid-October in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's going to be televised on October the 13th. This is a historical event because this is the first time that two women will be competing for the role of governor in the state of Michigan. Now, Tudor Dixon has really been going off on a tangent in regards to the fact that Gretchen Whitmer, she says, has failed Michigan. I tend to disagree in that regard. I'd say Governor Gretchen Whitmer, which I've covered before, has done a pretty damn good job. Now, I have not been a Michigan resident for that long, but looking into it, I feel like she's done great for the economy. She's done great for building jobs. I mean, she's done great for the infrastructure, which I'll cover here in a second. I'm sure she's not perfect, but the thing is, though, she seems very competent. Tudor Dixon doesn't have a platform to stand on. The more I learned about Tudor Dixon, the more I realized the only reason she got that position is because she's sponsored and endorsed by Trump. Now, I covered in an episode I talked about Tudor Dixon was the fact that she was born in Pennsylvania, lived in Chicago, and then moved to Michigan in 2002 after her dad bought a steel plant. Now, for those not aware, apparently that steel plant went under and a bunch of those workers got laid off. So it's not exactly sounding good like she's actually for the people. Now, this is based on what I've read. I could be wrong, but this is just what I'm seeing, that apparently the steel plant went under. So let's just say she probably doesn't have the best experience when it comes down to dealing with people and how to make sure they get jobs. Gretchen Whitmer has worked to make sure that the people of Michigan get jobs. This is huge. This is very significant. Now, I'm going to be watching this debate, and I'm definitely going to give you my ideas about this after the debate is over with, because I believe it happens on a Thursday. So that's pretty much what my entire episode is probably going to be about on the 14th of October, is just doing a summation of the entire debate and letting you know what I think about the whole thing. But this is huge, okay? Again, this is the first time that two women will be competing for the role of governor in the history of Michigan, of the state of Michigan. This is going to be a great debate, and I really think that Tudor Dixon is going to have her lunch eaten by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, because Governor Gretchen Whitmer is educated. She's also very significant. She's done a lot for the state of Michigan, and she's just going to go based upon all of her accomplishments. Tudor Dixon's probably going to focus on COVID, or she can't really use infrastructure, because I'm going to talk about that here in a second, and she really can't use the fact that jobs are the economy, because, like I said, Michigan right now is in the middle of a $7 billion surplus. Surplus, not deficit, surplus. Say it with me, people, surplus. The next bit of Michigan news is the Michigan board obeys the state Supreme Court and puts abortion rights proposal on the ballot. This is significant to everybody that is a firm believer in a woman's right to choose. It has now gone down to the ballot. If we saw what happened in Kansas, where basically the same people in Kansas, we all know that Kansas is a very, very right-leaning state. But Kansas voted to maintain women's rights. Michigan, we have got to do the same exact thing. We've got to ensure that we maintain a woman's right to choose and that abortion rights is maintained in the state of Michigan. This is very, very big. This is a very critical moment for women in the state of Michigan. We've got to ensure that women maintain the rights, because there's no guarantee that Roe v. Wade was going to be codified across the country. There's no guarantees about this. We swore that Roe v. Wade was never going to be overturned by the Supreme Court. We were surprised when they did that. There are states across the country that are not giving any exemptions to women whatsoever, whether they were raped, whether it's for the sake or the safety of the mother. This is how important this ballot is. I want everybody to remember this. This is why it's so significant, why it's so important for us to vote for a woman's right to choose. Because it could be you someday. It could be your daughter, your aunt, your sister. It could be anybody. They might get faced with a situation that you never would have thought about. It's like it could never happen to them. It could happen to you. It could happen to them. You have to ensure that these rights are maintained. This is healthcare. This is a procedure to save lives. This is also a procedure to ensure women that are forced, that women have rights. They have more rights than the rapist that impregnated them, because a woman should have a right to her body. Nobody's blamed the fetus. Nobody's blamed the fetus whatsoever. We are simply talking about a woman's right to choose. If she decides to keep the baby, that's entirely up to her. But she should not be forced or mandated to do so because of some weird patriarchal law stating that, oh, you have to keep the baby A, B, and C, but we're not going to help you. We're not going to have any systems in place. We're not going to, you can even put the baby up for adoption where there's 400,000 plus children waiting to be adopted. There needs to be a system to ensure that women maintain this right to choose. So this is why it's so important for you to get out there and vote this year. Because once again, this could happen to you. It could happen to somebody you know and love. Finally, let's talk about the road conditions in regards to infrastructure. Infrastructure is a very, very big topic for me, okay? But I just want everybody to know something. A lot of people actually like what Gretchen Whitmer is doing in regards to roads. However, a lot of Michigan voters think that road conditions are the same, but they support bond debt to fix the roads. Now, for those not aware, what is a bond debt? What is a bond debt obligation, okay? First things first, it's sort of like a debt obligation. It's sort of like an IOU, okay? So what happens is bonds are issued by the government and corporations when they want to raise money. By buying a bond, you're giving the issuer a loan. Now, this is actually from investor.com, .vanguard.com. You're giving the issuer a loan, and they agree to pay you back the face value of the loan on a specific date and to pay you periodic interest payments along the way. It's usually about twice a year, okay? So basically, like, if I give you a loan, all right, they will pay me back on a specific date, and then they'll continue to give me some interest to that loan over usually twice a year to ensure that there's still a gesture of good faith in regards to that, okay? That's what that means. Now, here is a survey that was taken by Michigan voters, okay? A majority of Michigan voters, 38.7%, believe the conditions of the roads have stayed the same over the last 4 years. Now, hear me out. 34% of the voters said the roads have been getting better. 23.5% of voters said the roads gotten worse. And a majority of Michigan voters, 48.3%, said they are seeing more roads getting fixed now than in the past. They are seeing more roads getting fixed now than in the past. Now, I drive on these roads all the time. I-94 is my home. I've seen the progress of these roads getting fixed. It's taken a while, but the thing is, it's a slow and steady process, especially if you want to get done right. Now, when voters were asked who is to blame, when they're asked who's to blame for the roads of Michigan, many voters named past governors, past legislatures, and the Michigan Department of Transportation. 46% of the voters, when added together, that's what they voted upon. 8.9% of voters blamed Governor Whitmer for the bad roads. That's 8.9% of voters. Now, some respondents believe the cities and the counties are to blame for the lack of infrastructure on the roads. Now, when it comes down to Governor Whitmer's bond debt, a strong majority of Michigan voters, 63.5%, support with governor's use of bond debt to fix Michigan roads. 27.5% of voters say they oppose Whitmer's use of the bond debt to fix the roads. This is significant. This means that they know that she's doing everything in her power to fix these roads. Now, she can't wave a magic wand and just say, yes, I fixed these roads right now. The fact that so many roads are getting fixed and so many people are in approval about this is what she can campaign on, and this is what she can win the election upon. The fact that these roads are getting fixed and many Michigan voters are saying, I'm seeing a real progress here. I'm seeing real change actually being happened in the state of Michigan. And again, not all the roads are great. Some of these roads frickin' suck. But you know what? You can't expect things to get fixed overnight. She's been in office for 4 years. Now, should she win her second term, and I hope she does, these roads are going to continue to get fixed. More infrastructure is going to get done. Hopefully, maybe even the inner cities across the state of Michigan are going to get fixed. Now, that would be freaking amazing if she could do that. Now, will she? That remains to be seen. There is so much that she can do that I'm hoping that she can do more of as she progresses along. But Tudor Dixon has no solution to this. She's just talking out of her rear end and basically saying, vote for me because Trump endorsed me. Not a good position or a good platform to jump off of, okay? She doesn't have a solution. All she does is just talk about like why she doesn't like Gretchen Whitmer, why she shouldn't get a second chance. But you know what? Honestly, I'm putting everything behind Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Not because I'm voting blue this year. It's because she has shown that she has the capabilities of keeping Michigan afloat. Michigan is becoming a very prosperous state. And this is one thing that we should all be very proud of, honestly. When I first started coming to Michigan very often, my father-in-law told me how Detroit at one point was the epicenter and at one point was the most prosperous city in the country. That's something that we should go back to. If that's the kind of stuff that Make America Great really means, then that's what we should be focused on. Making Detroit once again the epicenter, or making Michigan the epicenter for opportunity. That's the way you do it, is by action, not just using damn slogans. A slogan is meaningless if you don't do anything about it. She's not using slogans. She's just putting legislative action in place to keep the state moving in the right direction. This is something I can get behind. This is something you should be able to get behind. This is something that everybody should be getting behind if you want to make Michigan better. The infrastructure bill that was passed with bipartisan support is something that we should all be fighting for and fighting alongside of. Because guess what? The conservative base, whether they voted against it or voted for it, are receiving the benefits from it. This is going to help them and their constituents for years to come. They are even coming out and saying how this is benefiting them for years to come. This is why infrastructure is so important. This is what Governor Gretchen Whitmer can win the election on just off of GP, off of general principle, because these are the accomplishments. This is what we elect our elected officials to do. Not to take care of us, but to ensure that we are moving in the right direction. Passing legislation, knowing what the issues are. And it's not this rhetoric of that the conservative base is focusing upon. It's what really does matter. Because if the roads go out, truckers can't make deliveries. Because then they have to make detours. Who knows how long this detour will take them? Who knows how long it will take them? What if they don't have like a place to park at? What if it's the roads are slick and they can't get it taken care of? These are the real issues we need to focus upon. Infrastructure issues are essential to keeping the state moving in the right direction. This is what Governor Gretchen Whitmer can hold upon, and this is what she needs to just take her battle axe and just take down Tudor Dixon with it, with every fiber of her existence. And I hope she damn well does. Anyway, I want to thank everybody that was listening to the show tonight. I want to thank everybody that's listening on the replay. If you haven't done so already, hit like, share, get this podcast out there. Tell everybody how much my podcast is great, how much it sucks. I don't care. Just get it out there. I'm out there chasing clout. Help a brother out, please. That's what I want to be doing. I want to be consistently grabbing these numbers as if they're coming out of thin air, okay? Once again, thank you so much to everybody that's listening, and I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Y'all take care now. This has been a podcast brought to you by the Alex Kirsch Project. We hope you enjoyed the show.